Welcome to this episode of Cash and Keys, Mastering the Art of Business and Estate Prosperity, hosted by estate and business planning attorney Larry Parman. Mr. Parman is the founder of Parman Easterday, a law firm that practices exclusively in the areas of estate planning, elder law, and business succession planning. He is the author of The Straight Shooter's Guide to Estate Planning and Economic Dominoes, a review of the economic cycle in the U.S. In these brief sessions, Mr. Parman will share information and insights on estate planning, elder law challenges, and how to successfully transition your business. Plus, there may be a few nuggets on other topics that will entertain and surprise you. Here's Larry Parman.
Welcome back. We've been talking about some of the basic concepts in estate planning, and I want to pivot a little bit from that today. I don't have much time to do it. First of all, you'll see in the background a copy of my new book, The Straight Shooter's Guide to Estate Planning. You can go on Amazon and buy a copy of that if you'd like. I haven't mentioned that before in the previous videos, but I thought I'd just share that with you today in case any of you would have an interest in it. It's a great overview of the estate planning process. Today, a couple things have come up recently that are worth mentioning. Specifically, to what extent will certain documents you may sign trump or override the provisions you create in either your last will or your living trust, your revocable living trust. And specifically, I want to talk about beneficiary forms. So just be clear that those beneficiary forms will often trump the provisions you have in your will or trust. Let me say it another way. Let me just remove the word often. Those are contracts, and those proceeds from the accounts, those either insurance, annuities, IRAs, will be paid to the designated beneficiary on those accounts, regardless of what your will says. Now, this can create some serious issues when we get into divorces, for example, or deaths and remarriages. So there's one case that we worked on where a gentleman lost his wife, and he named his son, his child, as the beneficiary of his 401k after his wife passed away. A couple years later, he remarried. Well, guess what? Federal law requires that your 401 proceeds get paid to your spouse unless they sign a waiver. So in this case, upon his death, those 401k proceeds went to the second wife and not the son. So here's the big point. Carefully coordinating your beneficiary designations with your will or with your trust is a vital step in the estate planning process. And we see many more complications created from that today because people are getting remarried, and we have children by each spouse. We have joint children sometimes. So it's a very, very important but often overlooked step in the estate planning process. Encourage you to review that. Come in, visit with us, visit with your estate planning attorney, but be sure that you have that squared away, specifically on IRAs, annuities, and life insurance. You don't want to get this wrong, because if you get it wrong, you're going to end up in court, or you're going to end up with some kind of a dispute. Finally, be sure you always have a contingent beneficiary named on those types of assets. Those assets, if they transfer by that contract or by those beneficiary designations, avoid probate. But if you leave one blank and the proceeds end up being paid to someone, or if your primary beneficiary predeceases you or is not in existence at that time, then the proceeds would be payable to your estate, and that will create a probate for an otherwise non-probatable asset. Big point. Review your beneficiary designations with your estate planning attorney and be sure they coordinate appropriately, consistent with your intent, with the provisions in your will and your trust. Thanks for being with us today. See you soon.
If you would like to learn more about creating an estate plan for your family, protecting your assets if you have to go into a nursing home, or transitioning your business, call 405-843-6100 or send an email to info@parmanlaw.com. That's 405-843-6100 and info@parmanlaw.com. Thank you.